everyone, this is Darlene from darlenestamps.stampinup.net. I'm so glad that you found me today. Today I wanted to talk about a way to give a decorative edge to a card with absolutely no equipment, no dies, just a pair of scissors. A lot of people, when they get into stamping, are really not sure about the kinds of products that they want, and sometimes you have a budget and you really just can't be buying everything at one time, but yet you want to make cards that are pretty and that have a kind of a point of interest to them. And so that's what I wanted to show you today. So let's get started. The card that I'm showing you here is using the stamp set Celebrate Sunflowers. It's a current stamp set in our Stampin' Up! Catalog. You'll notice that it has a large image, the small image that we're going to use today. It has some leaves and some words. I live in upstate New York, and it's wonderful to see the sunflowers. They're kind of coming to their end. They usually come out in August and September, and they're just beautiful to see along the road. So that was my inspiration for using this stamp set. Also, it's a stamp set that's fairly easy to cut around, and that's part of the technique that we're going to use today. Celebrate Sunflowers in the annual catalog. So let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do is decide if you're going to have your card be portrait or landscape. This is the portrait orientation. And then you'll want to mount your stamp. As I said, we're going to use the small sunflower from that set. And when you are stamping your images, you want to make sure that you start your stamping off of the edge of the card. If you place your images exactly between the edges, it really doesn't allow the eye to move down the card, and that's what you really want. You want somebody to look at it and to look at the whole card. So you want to do your first image off the edge of the card, and then another space and so forth. You can twist it around, and when you do that, you will get this. So you can see that I made sure that I was in a little bit from the edge. I twisted my stamp. This is partially off, this is partially off. That's a hint for any kind of stamping that you do. Now, the next thing is we're going to use our scissors. Now, some people groan a little bit at the use of scissors, but really, if you pick a good stamp set that's very easy to cut around, it won't be a problem at all. In stamping world, in card making world, this is called fussy cutting. So if you ever hear that term, that's what I'm doing. I kind of started here a little bit. You can see that I'm not being real exact. I'm not going in and out of every little nook and cranny. I'm just kind of following along. This is a very asymmetrical look. If you like symmetry, you might not be real thrilled with this technique, but you're just going to cut around to give a decorative edge. You can be as fussy as you want, really. All right, so there is my decorative edge. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to color. If you'll notice my original card, I wanted to color my sunflowers, and I wanted to use two things in our catalog that I kind of think are really overlooked a lot. The first tool is a blender pen. If you look at the catalog on page 129, this is the blender pen. And it shows a picture of the pen. It shows a picture that's a little colored a little bit. It describes the blender pen, but I really don't think it gives you full knowledge of what that tool can do. And therefore, I think a lot of times people kind of gloss over it. They go for markers, things like that, when really the blender pen is a great tool and very versatile. So that's why I wanted to use the blender pens today. Let's look at them. They come in a pack of 3. They are double edged, so you get a point on each side. So really you get 6 points. You can see them there. They are filled with a glycerin-based liquid, and they are used to blend, just like their name says. You can use them with ink, you can use them with colored pencils, which is what we're going to do today. Now, the colored pencils have been around for quite some time. We have 2 assortments. They are on page 126 in the catalog. Assortment 1 has been around for quite some time. It has a lot of basic colors in it. A little glare there. And Assortment 2 came out not too long ago, and it has a lot of the fill-in colors. You can see them along the base. So both of these together give you a really good rainbow of colors for watercoloring. So that's going to be our coloring medium for today. Now, full disclosure here, and it may not surprise many people, I am not an artist. I have no artistic training at all. I don't know much about light and dark and all of those kinds of things. And I think that might deter a lot of people. If you feel the same way, they might deter a lot of people from actually getting into stamping and from doing coloring because they think I could never make it look, like good. But Stampin' Up, the artists, the stamp artists, really in a lot of their stamp sets, they give you some help. And what I'm talking about are these, you see these black lines that are real close together? That is an indication of where darker shading would be. Okay, and the same in the leaves, you see these dark lines, and you'll see this in a lot of the stamp sets, and these are called line art stamp sets because you color them. So that would indicate to me that I would need to use a darker shade, and then on the other parts of the petals I could use a lighter shade. So the colors that I picked for my sunflowers, my dark shade is Crushed Curry. You can see it's a darker yellow. The light yellow is Daffodil Delight. My green is Old Olive. And my center brown is Early Espresso. Those are going to be my colors. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you how I started. So here you can see in the center where those lines were close, I used my Crushed Curry, and I really did that dark. I really put a lot of pressure on my pencil right there. I wasn't picky, I wasn't careful, I just literally scribbled that in there. And then where the petal did not have those lines, that's where I used my Daffodil Delight. Oops, wrong one. My Daffodil Delight. Okay, so you can see that. Then for my leaves, the same exact thing. I only colored the leaves where those really dark, close together lines were. I did not fill in the leaf, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then I did my center. I used a very light touch to my Early Espresso. I didn't want that. You could be as dark as you wanted. The more pressure you apply, obviously, the darker it's going to be. So this is my pencil technique. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to use my blender pen, and I'm just going to do some very quick flicking coloring. I'm not going to do a lot of fluid on here. This is our basic white, and it really doesn't hold up to liquid that well, so you don't want to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You want to kind of do your little flicking just to blend a little. Okay, you see, I'm barely touching, just blending. Even if there's a little bit of white space, it doesn't really matter. Just blending. So you can see there, artist that I'm not, you can see that there is shading, and then there's some lighter parts to the petals. Now, before I go to my green, I must clean my blender pen because it will rub off. It will mix colors. So my technique is you always clean from on the side of your point, and you do a twist. You're twisting it and scribbling. It's twist and scribble. Can you see how that yellow is coming off? And I just keep twisting and scribbling until it's clear. Okay, you can see it's clear out here. So now that tip is clean. So now I can go ahead and do my green, and again, I'm not applying a lot of liquid. I'm just really barely touching, actually, but you can see how that leaf has blended. It kind of makes you look like an artist, which is good. Okay, There's my leaves. Now again, I'm going to go to my center. So now I want to twist and scribble my green. Can you see it here? So it's just like a paintbrush, really, if you think about it. You want to clean between colors. And now I'm going to very lightly blend in my Early Espresso pencil. Using pencils, you get not as deep of a color as you might with your inks. Okay? And once again, I'm going to clean before I put my cap on. Always put your cap on to make sure they stay moist. Okay? So that's how you would color your flowers. Now just to show you, I did another one here. This I wanted to make look more like a cornflower, if you will, so I did it in kind of a purplish blue. And I don't know if can you see the sparkle? There you see the sparkle. I used my Wink of Stella glitter brush to really kind of jazz that up a little bit with the sparkle. Okay, so that's how you use your blender pens with your colored pencils. And so then when you'll do your card. And here I added just a few other pieces from the set. I added a greeting. But you'll notice I also added something else here. I added a border. When we cut our original card, the border really is lost. The whole effect is lost because it's white on white. So you want to kind of do something to set off that pretty edge that you just did. And so all I did was I used a piece, on this one I used a piece of cardstock. How big do you cut it? Well, it has to be the length of your card. And then you want to make sure that it goes over maybe halfway into whatever image you chose, so that when you close it, you know that it's going to be underneath there. And of course, when I open this up, you can see it's in. And then I added a little sunflower on the inside. To make that pretty pattern, I used a die. This is our Stitched Greenery die. It is in the annual catalog. Even though it's called a die, it really just puts an impression into the paper, so you get a nice, nice texture without anything bulky. Now let me show you another stamp set that works really well with this technique. This is also in the annual catalog. It's called Dragonfly Garden. Notice here the two dragonflies with their wings, a little different pattern. Very, very easy to fussy cut. Right away my eye was drawn to how simple that would be. So here's my card with my dragonflies. You notice I started off the edge like I said, and I kind of changed the angles as I went down. And this beautiful piece of paper is from our new in colors. Every year Stampin' Up! Introduces 5 new in colors. And this year, with the new in colors, they gave us glimmer paper. This is 6x6 glimmer paper. It's a beautiful ombre. I don't know if you can see the ombre here from dark to light, light to dark. And all I did there was cut a strip of that, and again, put it so that it was far enough over, and I have my beautiful edge. So there are my 2 decorative edge cards done with nothing but a pair of scissors and a well-selected stamp set. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. You can find me at darlenestamps.stampinup.net. That is my online store, and you can buy any of the products that I showed you today at the store. All of my contact information is there if you want to email, text, or call. Everything is there. I'm so honored if you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I do another video. If you have a crafty friend that you think would enjoy this lesson, please hit the share button and send it to them so they too can learn to make a decorative edge. As always, I want to leave you with a thought for the day. These words come from Sylvia Plath. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. Bye until next time.